Okay, everyone, so welcome again to another one of our lessons. And in this next section of our course, we will be talking about a little bit about media queries, which is more focused on the concept of responsive web design. And again, this is more on the CSS part already, but I wanted to include this into our course here, so at least you'll have an idea. At least you can go and try to do your research already and prepare yourself, especially in building the sites that you will be developing in the future. This is something that you have to consider as a website developer in today's era of technology, because in our during our time, guys, the websites that are being built were mostly static. So that would mean that it's a website that is fixed when it comes to its layout, because previously we had websites that are built mainly for desktop computers, and the developers before focused on developing the sites, the layout of the websites based from the screen size of desktop devices or computers. However, in today's technology, we are now in a technology era from where websites can be viewed not only through personal computers or desktop computers, but also through different devices such as tablets and mobile phones. So the technology of media queries, or the concept of responsive web design, is was created so that this will be catering to the needs of the visitors that are using different devices. So let's say if, for example, one of your clients have visitors that use a desktop computer. So the website that we design should not be breaking if, for example, that site was viewed also in a mobile device. The concept that we would want to keep in mind here would be that we are preparing our site's layout based from the device screen that the possible visitors of the website will be using. So when we say media query, this is a CSS technique that was introduced in CSS3, and it uses the @media rule to include the block of CSS properties if there's a certain condition that is true. So let's say in this first example here, we have a 600 pixel device screen or smaller. If that screen is changed, or if the website was viewed in a smaller screen below 600 pixels, so we have here the @media rule, only screen and max width of 600 pixels, then this line of code here, the body selector that we have here, and inside of the code block that we have here, the background color of light blue will then be applied. So if we try to look at the website that we have here, you would see here that it says here, resize the browser window when the width of this document is 600 pixels or less, the background color is going to be light blue. So otherwise, it is light green. So right now, it's more than 600 pixels as we can see here. And if I try to resize this, you would see that the screen now has changed to light blue. So that's the idea of at only screen maximum width of 600 pixels, because we are building from desktop first, because there are two concepts here, guys: desktop first or mobile first approach. But let's look into the desktop first approach here first, because that's where we started in our course. So if we go down here, guys, we can see here that there's a term that we call a breakpoint. It would just simply means that if a certain screen size is used by the visitor, the layout of the website that you built based from the code that you've written that included media queries will be displayed. So let's say here in this case scenario, we have here a desktop screen that has the following layout. We have the header, the menu, the aside, and the footer. And once a viewer of the site uses a mobile phone, this is going to be how it will be looking on their screen. So it says here earlier in this tutorial, we made a web page with rows and columns and it was responsive, but it did not look good on a small screen. So in our previous lesson, we saw that our website broke when we tried to resize the screen size of our browser here. So media queries can help with that. We can add a breakpoint where certain parts of the design will behave differently on each side of the breakpoint. So here, let's say, for example, we maximize the use of the breakpoint 768 pixels. So when the screen browser window gets smaller than 768 pixels, each column should have a width of 100%. So let's see here. We can see here that this is the class declarations that we have made for specific width sizes depending on the layout that we will be using, or depending on the class selector that we have here that we will be implementing in our markup. So you would see if we use the call1 class here, it will be making the width of the element 8.33%. And if we use the call2 here, it will be making the width of the element 16.66%. If we use call3 here, it will make the width of the element into 25%, and so on. So now inside of our media query here that contains the only screen and max width of 768 pixels, which is mainly for mobile phones or mobile devices, we have a code block inside of this that selects all of the classes that has an assigned value of call. And that will be this one, and so on and so forth, right? So if we go to our example here, you will see here that we have the viewport media query here, and we have a media query size of 668 pixels. So that means it's below. So 668 here is below our breakpoint here, which is 768 pixels. So you would see that it has the header. We have the header here. If we try to look at the markup here, we have the div class header that has the contains the whole width. We have the div class row here, and we have the call tree here for the menu. And if we try to go back here, we can see here that it has the width of 100% that is assigned to the property, the value of 100%, once the screen is below 768 pixels. However, once we try to increase this more than 668 pixels, let's see what will happen. So that's 668 pixels, which is the breakpoint. And then when we increased it, we can see that the layout has now changed because we are now more than the breakpoint, which is 768 pixels. So if we try to look at the code here, we can see that call3 is the class declaration that is being used for the menu. So call3 here should be width of 25% when we are in a screen size that is more than 768 pixels, and it will be applying the call class selector here. Okay, this specifically this call class selector. This asterisk here is the universal selector that selects all of the class selectors that contains the value or the string value of call here. So you would see that when we resize it and it's below 768 pixels, the layout here now has a 100% width. So I would want you to go and try to figure things out here, what's happening here. So I would want you to go try to look into it. So at least you'll have some idea. Try to play around with this and try to figure out what's the code is doing in our site here, or the site example here. So we can see here that we have the menu, we have the call 6 here. So if in the desktop size, we have 50% for the call 6, which is containing. So if we go and increase this, this is the content of the call 6 here, the width 50%. Then we have here some aside the div class aside. So we have here call3, and call3 has a width of 25%, similar to the menus here if we try to look at the markup. So that will be all. I'm hoping that you're getting some of the ideas here. So we will be applying this in our project in the next lessons. So thank you guys, and see you on our next lessons.